Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. It's all unraveling, folks, and it's unraveling fast. I think the mask is totally off at this point, and the radical left's true face is now on full display for the world to see. And it's funny because, the left for years claimed that they had the moral high ground, right? They were morally superior, constantly lecturing us on decency, tolerance, and especially fascism and democracy. I mean, we all remember when Hillary Clinton looked down on us and called us a basket of deplorables. But as everyone knows, talk is cheap. Actions speak much louder than words, and when reality actually hits the streets, it's a completely different story. Yeah, it's a story of fire bombings, mass arson, beatdowns, vehicular assault, mob attacks on people for having different viewpoints. That is the story of the left, and it's not just a few isolated incidents. It's a culture of rage and hate that's been enabled to fester, that's been cooked up by the powerful at the very top. They told you that they were the good guys, but reality doesn't lie. Actions do not lie, and they speak much louder than words, like I keep saying. And of course, speaking of words, I can't just say the words and expect that that's enough. We gotta continue showcasing the actual truth here. The ongoing saga continues. Well, I guess in a way we got two sagas going on here, but both flow quite symbiotically. We've got the saga of Tesla terrorism mixed in with the saga of the violent left, the Democrat Party's slow descent into absolute madness. Let's continue to expose it, let's continue to log it and quantify it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so we got some more left-wing political violence being perpetrated across the country. Let's go over some of the most insane stories. We've got this story that's currently going viral. A supposed Luigi Mangione copycat killer indiscriminately takes the life of a Walgreens pharmacy worker, and currently the report is he did it because he, quote, hates big pharma.
This chilling surveillance video. Narciso Gallardo Fernandez seen shooting at the camera just moments after allegedly killing a Walgreens employee. Police say Hernandez went to the parking lot to reload.
There is no relation between Narciso and Eric Velasquez.
Madera Police Chief Gino Chermonte says Narciso drove from Pixley, showing up at the Walgreens off Cleveland Avenue just before closing Monday.
We do know he has a general disdain or grudge against pharmacies.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I'm not gonna beat around the bush anymore. I'm not tiptoeing around these subjects. This is what the Democrats are doing. This is what their rhetoric leads to. This is what happens when you lionize someone like Luigi Mangione for killing a health insurance CEO, when you put his face on t-shirts and memorialize him. When you turn somebody like that into a folk hero, you enable others to follow in the same path. I mean, it's the only logical outcome. Radicalized lunatics acting out violence in the name of left-wing ideology because they know that if they do it, they're going to make the headlines and the radical nerds on Reddit are going to hail them as heroes. This is what happens when you rationalize and glorify violence on a near daily basis on TikTok, when you call for violence, when you celebrate the Trump assassin or call for people to finish the job, when you celebrate people like Luigi Mangione, and when you have a political class of people who are clearly unwilling, or I guess not interested, in calling out the rhetoric and calling out the violence. Case in point, take a look.
Hi, Congresswoman Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Are they paying you well?
Well, that's besides the point. The question is, will you condemn?
I believe you should be
will you condemn the recent attacks on Tesla dealerships?
I can tell you right now that they don't give you health coverage, because I'm telling you this is very dangerous on how you have to walk up against these steps.
But will you condemn the recent attacks on Tesla dealerships?
Rashida Tlaib was repeatedly asked to condemn the violence in the Tesla terrorist attacks, and what a surprise, just like all the other Democrats, she refused. It's the exact same posture that we saw during BLM, remember? Mostly peaceful protests, right? Cities were on fire, people dead in the streets, businesses destroyed to the tune of $2 billion in damages, and they couldn't even bring themselves to say that it was wrong. They couldn't even admit that it was even happening, basically because they were covering for the violence. And now we're seeing the exact same thing. Not only do they enable copycat attackers, but they enable their street thugs who are currently running rampant across the country, engaging in political intimidation and violent acts. Let's go through a couple of examples here. We've got a couple of reports now surfacing, and even Tesla Sentry Mode video footage to back it up, showing that people are being threatened with firearms while driving on the freeway.
And Jesse Martinez hits the highway in his Tesla Model S, but now it feels risky to drive. Investigators say someone shot out his driver's side window with a BB gun as he drove through the town of Zebulon late Sunday night.
Some pretty concerning stuff, no? Yeah, but apparently not concerning enough to have Democrats rally together to call an end to the violence. Yeah, I guess Cory Booker is too busy acting like a complete crackhead on the Senate floor, being praised as some sort of hero. Absolutely freaking unbelievable. Then, of course, we've got tons of reports showing lunatics driving recklessly, swerving, brake checking, and trying to drive Teslas off the damn road.
He literally right here, he is running me off the freaking road. Look at this. This is just insane. I literally went into that whole lane.
And then look, he just stops his car in the middle of traffic. He just gets out and starts recording me. And then I honk. And then look, he tries to reverse into me.
And then, of course, acts of actual violence. Remember the story that we covered a couple days ago where someone was arrested for assaulting a woman in her Tesla? Yeah, well, now we've got the video, and it's absolutely horrifying. This guy gets out of his car and brutally beats this woman through her car window for the crime of driving a damn Tesla.
It shows a green car pulling up to a Tesla on busy Route 66, then swerving in front to box the Tesla in. The driver then walks over to the 61-year-old woman in the Tesla and reportedly starts hitting her while she's sitting behind the wheel. At one point, the woman says she bit the man's hand. Moments later, the passenger of the green car appears to walk over and pull the attacker away. They finally get back in their car and drive off.
Folks, this is what Democrats are enabling. And it's not just random violence, it's political violence, and we gotta keep on repeating that. This is terrorism. These attacks are meant to intimidate, to instill fear, to punish people for thinking differently.
President Trump, he said the attacks on Teslas. Do you see that as domestic terrorism?
I do, and it's an act of violence, and it has ramifications on community members, and at times has risked people's lives. I do see that as an act of domestic terrorism, and we certainly have a president who's willing to use his full authorities to go after people that choose to destroy people and communities and businesses in the way that people have.
That's what it is, and it should be treated as such, and a message has to be sent. Messages like this 24-year-old who was recently picked up after firebombing a Tesla dealership, well, he's been arrested and he's now facing 20 years in prison. This is exactly what needs to happen across the board if you are engaging in violence to intimidate those who think differently, violence for political aims, violence to stoke fear in the hearts of people who simply think differently than you or drive a different car than you do. You are committing terrorism. Full stop. And the response should be harsh prison sentences and zero tolerance. Because obviously, if the Democrats won't act, if they won't take the appropriate measures to call off their dogs, their street thugs, well then what other option is there? And clearly the Democrats aren't interested in that. They just pretend like it isn't happening and the media basically does their bidding. None of the mainstream media outlets are putting any emphasis on all of these Tesla attacks. And so if they won't send a message to their voters, well then Pam Bondi should. 20 years in prison across the frickin' board. It's the only thing that makes sense. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.